Let's tie it in, though,
Okay.
with this other report coming from the legend, Tom Curran, out of New England, Patriots beat writer. Because the report coming out of New England is that the Pats would have to receive a lot more than 3 first-round picks to be willing to trade down. Basically, Tom Curran saying the Patriots are in on the quarterbacks that will be available to them 3rd overall, whether that's Drake Maye, whether that's Jaden Daniels, maybe J.J. McCarthy. It's going to take a haul to get them out of there. Fact or fiction that that's true, and I can't help but think that it applies to the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh yeah, this is absolutely a sub tweet. Are we still calling them that?
Yes.
Subtweets.
They didn't tag the Vikings.
They didn't tag the Vikings in it, but they're absolutely talking to the Vikings. Yeah, no kidding that it's going to take a haul to get into the top 3, especially when you're outside the top 10. I think I would love if New England was a little more self-aware, though, because I don't think they're really set up to take a quarterback right now. But how often do you have the 3rd overall pick? I get it. They want to drive. What I'm getting at is they're trying to drive the price up of this pick because they want a haul because they have so many holes and so many needs on that roster. I think they would be not smart to not take a haul and address all of these other needs when you have the opportunity to do so at that number 3 pick. But either way, whatever team decides to come up into some area of the top 5, whether it be the 3rd overall pick, whether it be the 4th pick with the Cardinals, whether it be the 5th pick with the Chargers, you're going to have to overpay because there's more than one team that is likely trying to trade up for a quarterback. And that's something that I actually wrote for FoxSports.com a couple of weeks ago, where exploring different Vikings trade up packages. Yeah, they were all really rich, but guess what? When you're outside of the top 10 to get into the top 5, and then have to outbid other teams, it's going to be expensive. Sorry, guys.
I'm sure this is going to age poorly because that's how it works. Like, we can never predict the way that this goes down to a science.
No.
But this feels so obvious right now. Because fun fact, there's only 3 teams in this year's draft right now that have multiple first-round picks. It's the Bears, the Cardinals, and the Minnesota Vikings. As we spent the beginning of the show detailing, like, the Bears have their quarterback. Right. So they don't really have multiple first-round picks because that's going to be Caleb Williams.
Yes.
The Cardinals, unless they are pulling the greatest con of all time, believe in Kyler Murray. And that just leaves the Vikings, who have the first-round capital that nobody else can really compete with.
Right.
And so it makes it, I hate to say it makes it easy to read the tea leaves, but that's what they want to do. And they are one of the only teams that can make that type of offer of like, hey, you're going to pick twice in this draft, and then we'll still throw in some stuff later.
Yeah, first-round pick later. That's what this is going to take, again, because you are, depending on how high you trade up, if you're the Minnesota Vikings. And I think that's very much dependent on what Washington does it too, is how far Minnesota is willing to trade up or how far some of these teams are willing to trade up. Because if you take a guy that, Minnesota was in love with, we've heard a lot connecting Drake Maye and Minnesota. If he's gone at number 2, are you really going to go up to number 3 to get JJ McCarthy? I don't know. I don't, but maybe you are, because you want to hop Denver. You want to hop Las Vegas. You want to hop these other teams that need a quarterback as well. I'm not sure the answer to that. That's why this is so interesting. And it's also so frustrating for the Minnesota Vikings, because so much about this year's draft for them is out of their control.
And I think that's one thing I always want to emphasize is, like, it's easy for us on the outside to say, well, they're going to go up for their quarterback. And that could be all 4 of them,
Right.
They might only love one of these guys enough to do the deal.
Right.
And you just got to basically pray. I'll believe Washington's moving off that pick when I see it happen.
I know.
They're just, you talk about the Patriots not being well set up. The Commanders are well set up to draft that guy.
They are.
And when you think about new ownership being in place, they traded away Sam Howell. I think Marcus Mariota would start for them if they didn't draft a quarterback. So you do the math on that. I don't buy it. I think the Commanders are going to pick their guy, and the draft really gets interesting at 3. And it's just a matter of how much do the Vikings like what's left when 2 quarterbacks have been taken off the board.
Or yeah, again, if the Washington doesn't take Drake Maye at this point.
Yeah.
In this example, I guess in particular.
The variable that I always want to bring up, and you and I, we worked for NFL teams.
We did.
We know that this stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum.
No.
New England has, let's just be honest, an 82-year-old owner in Robert Kraft who knows what kicking ass and taking names with a great quarterback looks like.
Yeah.
And has been stuck not having that for a while now and probably hates it. So like
Where did he get that quarterback?
Oh, we want to try to replicate.
You're going to be able to replicate getting a quarterback at 199.
Model?
I'm not saying that, but you tried it with Mac Jones. It didn't work out. Who's to say that if you got a Hall, you still couldn't get?
I'm team Hall. Is that?
I'm absolutely team Hall.
I'm Patriots. Get the hell out of there.
Get out of there. Get a Hall. Address so many needs on your roster. You could accelerate this rebuild in New England. You could just shorten that timeline so much.
And yet, I can't say that this is a fact. I think I personally have to say this is fiction because I think this is just me speculating recklessly because that's what we're doing here today. Right. I think the organizational desire for a franchise quarterback is going to outweigh all of that. I don't know that that's the right call.
No, I mean,
but that's what I think.
We cannot conflate should with will.
Right.
Like what they should do versus what they will do. And you're right. This is all of these crazy dynamics and pressures that come from ownership, from a fan base, from even like as far as like sponsors and the way that, all the business aspect of all of this works.
Those activations don't look so good when you don't have a fun quarterback, do they?
They really, really don't. So as someone who worked for a team that didn't have Tom Brady under center and then worked for the same team that did have Tom Brady under center, I can tell you everything about the organization changes when you get someone like that as your quarterback.
That's all I'm saying. All right, so I'm saying fiction, although I do think that is in New England's best long-term interest.
Yeah, they should trade down. Will they? I think I'm with you. I don't think they will.
TBD.